Hello everyone, welcome to this class, and today we are going to cover the principles of academic writing. I'm going to be your host, and my name is Moses WANGAI, and I'm a content writer and creator. So, what are we going to cover today? First of all, we are going to recap on what academic writing is all about. Then, we are also going to cover what does not constitute any academic writing and the skills that you need to write a good academic paper. There are different kinds of writings produced in different contexts. For example, a memo, a letter to a friend, a newspaper article, an SMS, and so forth. So each of these differs in style, language used, the vocabulary, and also the purpose that it intends to achieve. So academic writing is serious writing guided by certain standards of conventions as follows. 1. It avoids personal constructions, like I, you, he, she, him, etc. as much as possible. It also relies more on active voice as opposed to passive voice. For example, the CEO reduced the employee's salary during the recession. And here you can see that active voice is easier to understand and uses fewer words and produces stronger sentences. But passive voice is used in some situations. For example, when one wants to diplomatically point out an error, for example, the letter was lost instead of misplaced. Also, academic writing, it avoids voice contraction or shortening, such as can't, shouldn't, and so forth, but rather uses the complete forms of those words. For example, can't, cannot, should be used in place of can't, then should not, and so forth. So, as we have seen, that it avoids cliches, slangs, and colloquialism. That is, when you start saying something and someone can literally complete it. For example, as black as charcoal. Slang, on the other hand, is the vocabulary amongst people of the same age, and it is usually ungrammatical. Colloquialism is the use of common and grammatical words such as fox, kudos, and other words that are used in everyday communication. It emphasizes on the objectivity of its content. For example, she weighs 130 kilograms instead of the phrase she is obese. Another thing that academic writing relies on is that it emphasizes on the objectivity of its content. For example, she weighs 130 kilograms instead of she is obese. Also, it uses special vocabulary or jargon instead of general vocabulary. For example, physically challenged is used instead of saying he is lame. Then, academic writing upholds originality. That is, a writer should ensure that their voice is evident in their writing so that they make a contribution to existing knowledge. Another point to note that is that academic writing is aware of reader consciousness. So the writer here should be sensitive of the reader's expectations to the level of their education, race, ethnicity, gender, religion, and so forth. Also, academic writing should be free from any noise, that is, in the vocabulary used, commonly referred to as semantic noise. For example, bad grammar. This can be achieved by careful revision and editing of your written work. It also acknowledges the ideas of others. For example, one is not expected to present only their own ideas, but also to acknowledge information obtained from books and journals. And this can be evidenced from our first point, where we say that it avoids as much as possible personal constructions and pronouns like I, you, he, she, him, and so forth. This means that it is not opinionated. Also, it is lengthy as well as creative process involving various stages such as focusing on the topic, gathering ideas, determining the structure, drawing outlines, and drafting, revising, editing, and proofreading. So it is generally a process. So it has stages that have to be followed, and every stage is crucial in the writing process. And some of the academic writing pieces and all assignments, they feature they have some features which are used in formal writings, but mostly these features are avoided. For example, idioms, euphemism, proverbs, hyperbole, irony, etc. The following does not count as academic writing. 1. Contributions to newspapers and popular magazines, sermons and testimonials, political or religious propaganda, any mass appeal for a better social order, fiction or creative work, and a paper full of quotations from sources, information drawn entirely from personal experiences does not also count as an academic writing. And also, a paper in which information is not properly documented, that cannot be an academic paper. So let's go to principles of academic writing. The first principle is that any academic writing has a clear purpose. So what do we mean by having a clear purpose? And in this point, we are going to look at persuasive purpose, analytical purpose, and informative purpose. So the goal of your paper is to answer the question you post as your topic. So your question should give you a purpose. The most common purposes in academic writing are to persuade, analyze, and synthesize, or inform. So let's look at persuasive purpose. In persuasive academic writing, the purpose is to get your readers to adopt your answer to the question. You will choose one answer to your question, support your answer using reason and evidence, and try to change the reader's point of view about the topic. And here, persuasive writing assignments should include things like argumentative and position papers, or maybe an journal, maybe, or something that you are trying to write. Also, let's look at analytical purpose. And in analytical academic writing, the purpose is to explain, evaluate, and also analyze the possible answers to your question, choosing the best answers based on your own criteria. And analytical assignments often investigate causes, examine effects, evaluate effectiveness, assess ways to solve problems, find the relationships between various ideas, or analyze other people's arguments. The synthesis part of this purpose comes in when you put together all the parts that come up with your own answer to the question. And examples of these academic assignments or orders include analysis papers and critical analysis. The last is informative purpose, and in informative academic writing, the purpose is to explain possible answers to your question, giving the readers new information about your topic. And this differs from an analytical topic in that you do not push your point of view to the readers, but rather you try to enlarge the reader's view. And some of the assignments will have a predetermined purpose. You can see the examples above, and from other assignments you have to choose a purpose when you have chosen a topic. For example, this can be given by the client, and other assignments may have two purposes. For example, in all cases you have the purpose. The purpose will be clear at the beginning of your paper, and your paper must achieve its purpose in order to be successful. The other principle is audience engagement. So, as this will, and with all writing, academic writing is directed to a specific audience in mind. Unless your instructor says otherwise, or audience says otherwise, consider your audience to be maybe the fellow students or people in your same league or level of knowledge as yourself. As students in the field, you are interested in your topic, but perhaps not so interested in reading a paper. So, will you have to engage them with your ideas and catch the interest with your writing style? Let me leave you with that to answer. But imagine that they are also skeptical, so that you must use the appropriate reasoning and evidence to convince them of your ideas. The other principle is having a clear point of view. Academic writing, even that with an informative purpose, is not just a list of facts or summaries of sources. Although you will present other people's ideas and research, the goal of your paper is to show what you think about these things. Your paper will have and support your own original idea about the topic. And this is called the thesis statement. And it is your answer to the question. The next principle is single focus. Every paragraph and even every sentence in your paper will support your thesis statement. There will be no unnecessary, irrelevant, unimportant, or contradictory information. And your paper will likely include contradictory alternative points of view, but you will respond to and critique them to further strengthen your own point of view. The other principle is logical organization. That is, your paper should have an introduction, a body of paragraphs, and the conclusion. So every academic writing follows a standard organization pattern. And for academic cases and papers or journals, there is an introduction, body, and conclusion. And each paragraph logically leads to the next one. The information should flow naturally. And let's look at the introduction. And the introduction catches the reader's attention, provides background information, and lets the reader know what to expect. It also carries the thesis statement. The body paragraphs, on the other hand, support the thesis statement, and each body paragraph has one main point to support the thesis, which is named as the topic sentence. So the topic sentence, which is mostly it is the first sentence in the paragraph, has the main point, while the other sentences support the main idea, which is communicated by the first sentence. And each sentence connects to the one before it and after it, and the readers do not have to work to find the connection between these ideas. So the conclusion, on the other hand, summarizes the paper's thesis and main points and shows the reader the significance of the paper's findings. The next principle is strong support. Each body paragraph will have sufficient and relevant support for the topic sentence and thesis statement. For support, this will consist of facts, examples, descriptions, personal experiences, and expert opinions and quotations. The other principle is clear and complete explanation. So this is very important. And as a writer, you need to do all the work for the reader. The reader should not have to think hard to understand your ideas, logical organization, and English expects everything to be done to its reader. Your thoughts and thought process should be clearly and completely explained. The effective use of research in your paper refers to a variety of current high-quality professional and academic sources. And in your paper, you will use your research to support your own ideas, and therefore it must be integrated into your writing and not presented separately. That means that source material will be introduced, analyzed, and explained, and at the end, cited. And research and AP style guide of Christian cover this topic in depth. I'll leave a link in the description box below so that you can access the document. We are also going to cover correct use of citation, referencing styles such as APA, MLA, Chicago, Turabian, Harvard, and others. So all academic people should follow the guidelines of the referencing style that your instructor has given you. And most, if not maybe 90% of every academic paper, they follow the guidelines of the American Psychological Association, that is APA, as found in research and APA style guide of 2010. And regarding in-text citations, the reference list and format, you are also going to refer back to the manual. The last but not least is the writing style. The writing style, and because this is your work, you should use your own words whenever possible. Do not try to write like a boring, overly formal scholarly article. Use the natural conversation style that you should use or would have used in the classroom, or if you were to present the paper and defend it in front of the professors. Your writing should be clear, concise, and easy to read. It is also very important that there are no grammar, spelling, punctuation, or vocabulary mistakes in your academic writing, as these errors convey to the reader that you do not care. So, to conclude, these are the points that you should note. One is that every academic paper has its own style. Second is that there are certain types of literature that are not referred to as academic writing. And for example, if you stuff your paper with lots of citations and quotations, that is not an academic paper. And also, if you use too little citations, that means also that your paper is opinionated. It depends on where you come from. And also, make sure that your paper has no typo or grammatic errors. So, what are my closing remarks? Finally, this is what I can tell you as my closing remarks. There is this one rule that overrides all the other principles. That is, always follow the directions of your instructor or the client, as every instructor has a reason for giving you an assignment, and each instructor's requirements may differ. So follow your instructor's directions to get the most from any writing assignment. And that's all for today, people. Thank you for your patience, and let's see you tomorrow. Bye.